Trump just signed an executive order directing the Justice Department to prosecute people for burning the American flag.
If you burn a flag, you get 1 year in jail.
Never mind the fact that flag burning is constitutionally protected free speech.
Through a very sad court, I guess it was a 5-4 decision, they called it freedom of speech.
I guess there was a 5-4 decision. That's right, it was Texas v. Johnson. Gregory Joey Johnson, a member of the RevComs, was arrested for burning the American flag at the Republican National Convention in Dallas in 1984. And this went all the way up to the Supreme Court that ruled that flag burning is symbolic speech protected by the First Amendment.
When you burn the American flag, it incites riots because the people in this country don't want to see our American flag burned and spit on.
Sorry, you can't use the fact that an audience takes offense to certain ideas in speech to justify suppression of that speech. This was literally written into the Texas v. Johnson decision, and this has been reaffirmed many times, including in a case that I was part of when a group of 16 RevComs, including Joey Johnson once again, was illegitimately arrested for burning the flag at the Republican National Convention in Cleveland in 2016.
America was never grateful.
But none of that matters to the fascist in chief who sits there in his throne stripping away basic rights with the stroke of a pen. Yes, this will probably go up to the Supreme Court once again, but there's now a majority that, as Bob Avakian put it,
the fact is that the Supreme Court majority is determined to enable Trump to bulldoze over challenges to his fascist regime, regardless of legal precedent, basic logic, and the obvious meaning of things, including the Constitution.
This executive order is another big leap in fascism, eliminating free speech and dissent and shoving patriotism down people's throats. We've already seen students arrested for criticizing Israel, mayors and senators arrested for speaking out against ICE raids. We're seeing parks and museums whitewashed of any historical truth which challenges the narrative of American greatness. This has already gone way too far already, and now they're going to throw people in jail for a year for symbolic speech? Next, it'll be jail for waving a Mexican flag, or flying the U.S. flag upside down, or not standing for the national anthem. Forcing everyone to pledge allegiance to a white Christian fascist America? This is not looming off in the distant future, it's here.
This demonstrates very clearly the profound truth that all those who oppose the tyrannical madness of this Trump fascist regime must mobilize with continuing and growing, determined, nonviolent action to prevent this fascist regime from functioning and create the conditions where it is removed from power before it can fully consolidate its rule of fascist atrocity.
As RefuseFascism.org says, the time has come for the fall of the Trump fascist regime. Beginning November 5th, the one-year anniversary of Trump's election, flood D.C. and nonviolent protests don't stop until Trump is removed.
So we are thrilled to welcome Joey Johnson to the RNL Revolution Nothing Less show. Welcome, Joey.
Hey, thanks, man. Great to be with you.
I want to start just by asking, we just this week saw the fascist Trump sign this executive order attempting to outlaw flag burning. And immediately in response, a veteran burned a flag in front of the White House.
I'm burning this flag as a protest to that illegal fascist president that sits in that house. Do this for every single one of you American citizens. We burn this flag in protest to that president who feels that it's his right to do whatever he wants, make whatever law he wants.
What was your response to that?
That was great. I was excited to see it. I was really moved by it. And he was prompt. He was on it. He was right out there the same day, right out in that afternoon. And it was great what he did, and what he said was right on point as well. I mean, I think he, from his own perspective, has a 20-year combat veteran, somebody who was in the military apparatus of this monstrous system. From his own perspective, he saw it important to denounce this fascist executive order, criminalizing burning the flag in protest. And that's something I think is really important. I really welcome the diversity of views, people coming from a lot of different perspectives. They want to reclaim America. They don't want these crimes against the people, against the rights of the people to dissent, to be muzzled or thwarted. and want to take a stand against it. I appreciate that very much. I mean, I'm coming from my perspective that I see the flag as a symbol of imperialist plunder and murder. It's a symbol of one of the most monstrous and predatory empires in the history of humanity. And it's an empire that needs to fall. It needs to be uprooted. It needs to be overthrown through an actual revolution. And we need to stand with the people of the world. But I very much appreciate that people who want to reclaim the flag or redeem America, they're standing against the outrages that this system commits and refusing to be complicit with it. From that perspective, then there's a lot of common ground for us to stand on and to talk with each other in a principled way about what's at the root of all this and how do we get humanity beyond it. And it's meaningful today to see these veterans that are against this forced patriotism. You know, that either because they, through their experiences and being used to fight for the system, came to have disgust for the kind of patriotic indoctrination they got, or like I said, they think it's a betrayal of the flag to require compulsory patriotism, to have compulsory patriotism.
I think that's really important. I think that kind of unity being forged as we come together to fight and to defeat this fascism, where the forced patriotism is a big part of that agenda. But I want to ask you, JJ, to go further when you're talking about where you're coming from and your perspective. In 1984, you burned this American flag at a Republican convention in Texas. And I want to ask what brought you to that position and why you burned the flag at that point.
Well, there's a long history and a short history. I'll try to do a combination of the two, a hybrid. I mean, I came up in this country and I grew up just like everyone else and indoctrinated with the red, white, and blue patriotism. And I considered myself that way when I was a young teenager. A little bit later, I broke with it. But I grew up in a mixed neighborhood in Indiana, an industrial town where my neighbors were black and white. And my mother married a soldier who was home on leave when I was like 9 years old. And we started living on army bases in the South. And I had been indoctrinated, like I said, in the whole G.I. Joe kind of America patriotism. And then come to find out there were Klan chapters on the army base. It was in Anniston, Alabama. And so that got me questioning, like, that's like really, because my mother had taught me to be completely against racism. And from the time I was young. And so that caused me to question. But then more than that, at a certain point, we moved to Germany with my stepfather, who, as I say, was in the military. And I was living on an army base in the dependent housing. And I went on the base every day to sell the Stars and Stripes newspaper in the mess halls to the soldiers. There's a bit of an irony there. But this was 1969 during the high tide of the Vietnam War. And a lot of the soldiers had already turned against the war. Either they were coming back from Vietnam or on their way there. And there was a lot of open discussion, including with me, a 12-year-old. You know, we'd go hang out in their barracks after morning chow and just chop it up about what was going on. And I met these incredible people, and initially it was more the blacks and the Puerto Ricans, but then some of these hip dudes. I remember one dude had been in the band Buffalo Springfield before he got drafted. And they had an influence on me. They told me, kid, don't believe your old man. He's a lifer, like a lifer in prison. He's a lifer in the military. I remember one of my first anti-war statements or acts myself was I had a copy of the Woodstock album, and we lived right next to a motor pool where they were fixing the guns and the howitzers and the tanks and doing repairs on them or maintenance. And I put a little GE record player I had with speakers up in the window and played Jimi Hendrix's Star Spangled Banner. So I played that for the soldiers, and they would give me little peace signs and clenched fists and all that. But this was a time when, like, I talked to black soldiers that if they wore if they had one of those Afro picks with the black plastic fist on it, and it was sticking out of their pocket, that the lieutenant would come along with a razor knife or a pair of scissors and cut the handle off, or if the white dudes wore their hair a little bit long or they tried to get away with it, it wasn't happening. There's a lot of trying to intimidate the soldiers, but the soldiers would be bragging about how short they were, meaning how many days or weeks they had left in the military and their anxiousness to get out of the machine, get out of the war machine of U.S. imperialism.
This is a really important history, JJ, and so then coming to kind of confront in your own thinking and to have that patriotism challenged. Then fast forward, then what brought you to actually then lighting that American flag on fire in '84?
Well, I have to say that the central thing that brought me to it was the internationalism, the revolutionary internationalism of the revolutionary leader Bob Avakian, because he always put tremendous emphasis on the fact that we're standing with the people of the world. This is not, an American affair. We're not making this from America out, but the whole world is integrated. What we have in common is our humanity. We're not going to be used as instruments or tools of empire. And that's really important when you live in the most monstrous and predatory empire in the history of humanity. You got to break through that America-centric or American chauvinism and think about the consequences for humanity. And you look at the crimes that have gone on in Gaza right now. It's horrendous, and that's all made in the USA. It's Israel. It's U.S.-backed Israeli genocide going on in Gaza of the Palestinian people, and it's horrendous and horrific and criminal, monstrously criminal. But it's a monstrously criminal system, that the fascist Trump is just the latest incarnation of, or it's taken things to a whole nother level.
You've answered the last question I want to ask, but I'm going to ask it. The times I have you on video now several times in 2016 at the Republican convention.
America was never great.
We're taking a stand against this imperialist Republican National Convention. We're standing here with the people of the world today. We're standing here with the people of the world today.
In 2019, in front of the White House, when you lit the American flag on fire, and first you said, "We're standing here with the people of the world."
We're standing with the people of the world today. We're standing with the people of the world today.
5, 6, 7, 8, America was never.
And can you say a little bit more about what that means, including what it means to imagine a world without America and without the America that flag represents?
What I think it means to be doing this right now is more than ever, we can see how humanity is integrated and interwoven with each other interdependent with each other all over the world. And both in a positive sense, like Bob Avakian talks about how the astronauts being in outer space and looking down at the Earth, they don't see borders. They don't see walls and barbed wire. They see there's one planet Earth, but yet this system is insistent upon the world being divided up between competing aggregates or whole countries of concentrations of capitalism, national markets, and fighting over the shipping lanes and who's going to be the dominant empire and the big shot caller, the big gangster of the world. That's an expand or die of capitalism, of imperialism. And that's what the rulers of this system are locked into. Those are the rules they're locked into, but there's no reason for all of us, for humanity to be locked into that, for all of us for all the people that are suffering from that division of the world in Sudan and Gaza and all over the planet, not just the most impoverished and brutally oppressed places, that especially, but all over the planet, the interconnectedness of people. And it's one planet Earth, and it's It's one global environment that's being destroyed. It's not, climate change is not particular to one country. It's all over the planet. But what also is all over the planet is our reliance and interdependence on each other. This is a world where we could adequately feed and clothe people all over the planet, and provide a decent cultural level many times over. There's just one thing standing in the way: this capitalist imperialist system. And now we're in a spatial moment where the fascist Trump is putting all of that on steroids. The unnecessary suffering of the people of the world, and it's up to us, people from really broad perspectives, to come together to make this society ungovernable. I'm completely down with the refuse fascism call. I'm completely down with the call to flood DC on November 5th. The time is now for the fall of the Trump regime. It must go now. And for people to come into the streets from all different perspectives and to have these kind of conversations we're having right here, to have them out in the streets as we're marching together, as we're making trouble, good trouble for the capitalists and imperialists by surrounding their White House, surrounding the Capitol building, surrounding the Supreme Court, and to stand with the people of the world. That's what we need to do. That's what we need to do. It's really urgent.
Well, thank you so much, JJ. It's really right on time. It's so good to have your voice. And I think you give a lot of content to what it means when we say, in the name of humanity, we refuse to accept a fascist America.
Absolutely.
Sending you a great big hug, and we'll hope to have you back again on the RNL Revolution Nothing Less show.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much.